Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive.
It's great to be back.
Yeah, today we're diving into something that's probably on a lot of people's minds,
Mm-hmm.
attracting prosperity,
Yeah.
but we're not going to get bogged down with all the complicated financial stuff, you know what I mean?
Right.
We're going to go right to the sword and explore some really cool ideas about how your thoughts, your mind can actually attract wealth.
Interesting.
Yeah, so our guide for this deep dive is a book called How to Attract Prosperity. And we're going to try to break down the main ideas and see if this whole mental attitude thing is the secret to, financial well-being.
It's all about tapping into that inner power, right?
Exactly.
And it reminds me of this quote by Daniel Webster. He said, "Amid all the mysteries by which we are surrounded, nothing is more certain than that we are ever in the presence of an infinite and eternal energy from which all things proceed."
Wow.
Makes you think about those fundamental forces that shape our lives,
Absolutely.
including our finances.
Yeah, for sure. And, the book starts off with a pretty bold statement.
Okay.
It's all about the power of thought.
Hmm.
It says our thoughts aren't just, these random things that pop into our heads.
Yeah.
They actually have this power to materialize and take shape.
Wow.
It's like our minds are sending out a signal and the universe responds to it.
So it's like a two-way street.
Exactly. What do you think about that?
Well, it's a fascinating concept, right? Because it suggests that people might be struggling financially or feeling dissatisfied without even realizing that their own thoughts could be contributing to it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and the book says this infinite and eternal energy that Webster talked about,
Right.
it's always listening, and it doesn't differentiate between thoughts of lack and thoughts of abundance. It simply mirrors back what we're consistently putting out there.
So basically what we focus on is what we get.
Yeah, and it really makes you question what kind of mental signals are you sending out there.
That's a good question to ask ourselves.
For sure.
So if our thoughts are that powerful, what about all those beliefs about money that we've picked up over the years?
Yeah, those deep-seated beliefs.
Exactly. The book talks a lot about breaking free from those limiting ideas.
Mm-mm.
It suggests that poverty isn't some kind of predetermined destiny, but more like a result of not understanding our own mental potential.
Right. It's about recognizing that we have more control than we might think.
Right. And the book doesn't hold back. It challenges us directly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it says, dare to fling out into the great cosmic mind greater assurance about yourself.
Wow, that's powerful.
It's like a call to action to reject the idea that we're limited by our circumstances and to coach about a stronger belief in ourselves.
It's about taking ownership of our own potential.
Exactly. And the book argues that poverty isn't a decree of providence,
Hmm.
but a result of our own ignorance of mental laws. So it's putting the power back in our hands.
I like that.
Yeah, and you know what might surprise some people is that How to Attract Prosperity also talks about the Bible and money.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it emphasizes that the Bible doesn't condemn money itself, but rather the obsession with it.
That makes sense.
It's like the underlying message is that we're meant to live a life of abundance, not constantly struggling with finances.
Yeah, to experience the fullness of life.
Exactly. And the book has this interesting perspective on the natural world.
Okay.
It says the earth is inherently abundant.
Mm-hmm.
There are enough resources for everyone.
Right.
So no one really needs to live in poverty.
It's a matter of distribution and access, I suppose.
Right. And there's this great quote from Dr. W. John Murray who says that we should desire riches not for selfish reasons, but to bless others, not live like fools.
I like that it reframes the whole idea of prosperity.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's not just about accumulating wealth for ourselves, but using it to make a positive impact on others.
Exactly. But then the book takes a bit of a darker turn.
Oh.
It talks about the curse of poverty.
Hmm.
And it doesn't sugarcoat it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it describes how poverty can trap people, stifle their creativity, and crush their dreams.
Yeah, it can be a vicious cycle.
It really can. And the book doesn't shy away from the harsh realities.
What does it say?
It says poverty warps nature,
Mm-hmm.
fills people with bitterness, and can even lead to crime, mental illness, and even death.
That's heavy stuff.
It is. And it even quotes a biblical saying, the destruction of the poor is their poverty.
Wow, it's a stark reminder of the devastating impact of poverty.
Absolutely. So how do we go from understanding this to actually changing our situation?
Right, that's the big question.
The book puts a lot of emphasis on thinking your way to success.
Okay.
It straight up says that beggar thoughts will lead to poverty and failure.
It's like our mindset becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. And the book says hopelessness will completely sabotage any effort we make and kill our ambition.
So what's the antidote to that?
Well, the book says we need to cultivate thoughts of success, abundance, and optimism.
Okay, so it's about shifting our perspective.
Yeah, and it even suggests that hard work alone isn't enough if we're constantly battling negative thoughts.
That makes sense. It's like trying to run a race with weights strapped to your ankles.
Exactly, and that brings us to one of the key concepts often associated with this kind of thinking.
What's that?
the law of attraction.
Ah, yes, I've heard of that.
The book states very clearly that this law is as exact as inexorable as are the laws of gravitation and of mathematics.
Wow, so it's like a universal principle.
Exactly. It suggests that our dominant thoughts and our habitual mental attitude are the main things shaping our reality.
So we're essentially creating our own experiences.
That's what the book argues, and it also says that you can't have thoughts of prosperity and thoughts of poverty at the same time.
They're like oil and water.
Exactly, and if our minds are constantly focused on lack and we keep visualizing bad financial outcomes, then we're actually attracting more of that into our lives.
It's like a negative feedback loop.
Right, so where we choose to focus our attention is crucial.
It's all about being mindful of our thoughts.
Absolutely. And then the book goes on to talk about breaking free from these self-imposed limitations.
Okay.
It argues that our lives essentially mirror our thoughts and that we're literally building our reality through our mental processes.
It's a powerful concept.
It is, but the book also points out how often we hold ourselves back with doubt and fear.
It's so easy to get caught up in those negative thought patterns.
Yeah, and the book says that doubt and fear can actually stifle our inherent divine powers and possibilities.
What does that mean?
Well, it's like we have this incredible potential within us,
Okay.
but our doubts and fears prevent us from fully tapping into it.
Ah, I see.
And the book emphasizes that complaining, expecting the worst, and focusing on scarcity are all ways we reinforce poverty.
So it's like we become our own worst enemies.
Exactly. We trap ourselves in the very conditions we're trying to escape.
It's like a mental prison.
In a way it is, and the book even uses the term mental disease.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it talks about mental disease, the cure. It suggests that these negative thought patterns create a kind of sickness that affects not just our finances.
Our overall well-being.
Exactly, our happiness, our health, everything.
So it's a holistic issue.
Right, and there's this quote from Dr. Thomas J. Fenton who says, "A morbid state of mind prepares the soil for disease."
So there's a connection between our mental and physical health.
Absolutely, and the book offers a message of hope.
What's that?
It says the way to heal this mental disease is to consciously shift our mental attitude.
Okay, so it's about taking control of our thoughts.
Exactly, and it says if you are afflicted with the poverty disease, you can begin this very moment to cure yourself.
That's empowering.
It is, isn't it? So how do we actually make that shift?
Right. How do we go from attracting lack to becoming a prosperity magnet, as the book calls it?
Well, the book stresses the importance of turning our attention away from poverty and focusing on abundance.
Okay, so it's about changing our focus.
Yeah, and it's not just about thoughts, but also actions.
So aligning our behavior with our desired outcome.
Exactly, and the key principle here is that like attracts like.
So if we want prosperity, we need to align our mental state with that.
Right, we need to choose to focus on wealth and opportunity instead of dwelling on what we lack.
It's about being intentional with our energy.
Exactly, and the book talks about these prosperity magnets being created by immersing ourselves in the thought of prosperity.
So it's not enough to just wish for it.
No, we have to actively desire it, cultivate ambition, and have an unwavering belief that it's possible.
We need to embody that energy.
Exactly, and the book even uses examples of successful people like J. Pierpont Morgan who became money magnets through their intense focus on wealth creation.
They were completely dedicated to their goals.
Yeah, and this idea of focused attention is really important.
Right, it's like a superpower.
And the book argues that problems like poverty, ill health, and unhappiness often come from a lack of understanding of these mental principles.
So it's about educating ourselves on how our minds work.
Exactly, and it highlights our mental attitude towards work as a key factor in our success.
How so?
Well, it says that working hard with a negative mindset can actually be counterproductive.
So it's not just about the effort, but also the attitude behind it.
Right, every thought we have that focuses on poverty is pushing prosperity further away.
So it's like we're sabotaging ourselves.
In a way, yeah, so we need to focus on our goals with hope and conviction.
And visualize ourselves as magnets attracting what we desire.
Exactly, it's about shifting from a mindset of lack to a mindset of abundance.
And believing that it's possible for us.
Absolutely. Now, the book also touches on a more philosophical concept.
Oh, what's that?
It's the idea of cultivating oneness.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, it's about developing this awareness of our connection to what the book calls the source of all prosperity.
So it's like tapping into a universal energy field.
Yeah, and when those doubts and worries about finances creep in, we need to remind ourselves that abundance is our natural inheritance.
We're inherently worthy of prosperity.
Exactly, and holding on to that belief is essential for maintaining inner peace and staying connected to that source of abundance.
It's about shifting our perspective from scarcity to abundance.
Right, and then the book makes a really interesting suggestion.
What's that?
It proposes the creation of prosperity treatment stations.
What are those?
Well, the book envisions governments setting up these centers to support people who are feeling discouraged, unemployed, and fearful.
It's like a safety net for those who are struggling.
Yeah, but it's not just about financial aid, it's also about providing mental and emotional support.
So it's like a holistic approach to addressing poverty.
Exactly. The book believes that discouragement itself is a major contributor to unhappiness, poverty, and even crime.
So it's about empowering people to change their mindset.
Right, these treatment stations would be places where people could go to regain their hope, develop a more positive outlook, and get back on their feet.
It's a fascinating concept.
It is, and while the book proposes these formal treatment stations,
Yeah.
it also emphasizes that we can give ourselves these prosperity treatments
How so?
by consciously choosing to focus on prosperity and adopting a positive mindset.
So it's about taking responsibility for our own mental well-being.
Exactly. So that brings us to the end of our deep dive into how to attract prosperity.
Wow, what a journey.
It was, wasn't it? And the core message seems to be that we have the power to change our financial reality through our thoughts.
It's all about harnessing the power of our minds.
And the book's final thought is really inspiring.
What does it say?
It says you have within you the power to transform your life by transforming your thoughts. Turn your back on poverty, face toward prosperity, and draw to yourself the sunlight of right thinking.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and so as we wrap up today, we want to encourage you to really think about your own dominant thought patterns. Are you attracting prosperity, or are you unintentionally pushing it away?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is, and we hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought and some tools to start shifting your mindset towards abundance.
It's all about taking that first step.
Exactly. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
See you the next time.
See